Aloha kako, Gene Tamashiro here, Hawaiian National. Yeah, in process. What we're doing is we're restoring Ko Hawaii Pai'aina, which is very interesting because Ko Hawaii Pai'aina, Hawaiian Kingdom, Hawaii, has always been in continuity. We're actually under a 128-year military occupation. And I think a lot of people know that. Great mahalos to Keanu Sai for educating people all over the world, throughout Hawaii and America, about what's our real status. Yes, we're under occupation. Dr. Desaias from the United Nations did clarify it's a strange form of occupation, but we had to be more specific. It's a military occupation. And the proof of that, the fact that it's an occupation, is there's no treaty of annexation. There's no lawful treaty of annexation, so that means occupation. Military occupation, why? Because there's military bases all over Hawaii. If it's a military occupation, what does that mean? That means we have been, and we still are, under martial law. What is martial law? Martial law means that the Constitution and civil governance has been actually suspended. Now, what's important to know is the Constitution being suspended does not mean your God-given unalienable rights are gone or suspended. That never leaves. That, your God-given rights, never suspended. The right to what? The right to full disclosure and substantive due process. That's your right. And the only way that's suspended is if you surrender it. Why is it actually good that we're aware now that it is martial law, 128 years occupation? Martial law is an internationally recognized reality, and the United States is a party. They're a signatory to the Hague and Geneva Convention, which clarifies that in martial law there is a protocol that the occupying power is obligated to live by, to operate in. They are the occupying power, state of Hawaii, in the military. They have an obligation by their treaty, if they're going to legislate, if they're going to enforce, that they must legislate and enforce in accordance to the laws and the titles and the jurisdiction of the country that they occupy. And that is codified in the highest law from the U.S. side, United States Constitution, Article 6, Clause 2, the supremacy of treaties, specifically the Hague and Geneva Conventions. Now that we've clarified, and it is true, as we go forward, that the state of Hawaii, their court system, it's not the lawful venue to adjudicate controversies on this soil. This is why we had to activate our peaceful Hawaii Armed Forces branch, Occupied Forces Hawaii.
We interrupt this program with a short message from Colonel Sam Lilikoi.
International humanitarian law is the laws of war. It is humanitarian law in occupation. Did you sign up for military or civil corps?
Military.
Military. So you jump in off the American ship.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to be under my command.
Yeah.
And when you join up, you'll become a civil affairs officer. Because what is your purpose? To establish peace and order in the country called Hawaii. Okay. I cannot naturalize you during wartime because it's unlawful. I cannot turn you into a Hawaiian with civil rights. I can turn you into a Hawaiian soldier. Okay. That's what is called, you be identified as a lawful military combatant. The reason you're doing it is so that you are in accordance with Title 8 of the USC, which is their expatriation process.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we do it by the laws of war. So, when are you? Because you know you're gonna have to cut your hair.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut it.
Yeah, but this is military. Then join civil corps, but you're not ready for the boots.
Yeah, okay. I can join civil corps.
See, this is
Good timing.
when they gotta cut their hair, they hold a cut and change.
Yeah, you're right. You got me.
Welcome
Okay.
home, bro. Welcome home. It's good. It's good.
Okay, civil corps better for you anyways.
Okay.
I can tell that just in your money.
Roger.
Yeah, better place for you to be. Us, we soldiers, yeah, different. We fighting with, I guess you could call it psychological warfare, but we're using law.
Okay.
Law, we don't fight with M16, we fight with this right here. Yeah. And the bugger work. Because Hawaii is one country, yeah. But you guys learn it from Gene and all that. I show you documents in there, it's your governor saying Colonel Lilikoi.
And we have to clarify, we are in a state of war between the United States of America and Hawaii. And here we go. It's a lawful document, but it's a military document. Occupied Forces Hawaii, January 17, 2021, which is the 128-year anniversary of the kidnapping of our queen. It's signed by Colonel Lilikoi. He's the commander. He stepped forward to clarify and be the actual point of contact, with the military of the occupying power. Commander Beaumont is representing the occupying power's military through the Navy. U.S. Navy, Special Warfare Unit, United States of America. The reason for this document is it is a declaration of a state of war, not a declaration of war, no hostile live fire, but a state of war. And it's manifested in this occupation. So we have Hawaii, a state of war between Hawaii and the United States of America. If you don't have a treaty of annexation, that means it's an occupation. And because there's military bases from day one, 128 years ago, it's a military occupation. So this is very important. Notice right here when and where they signed this. They signed it on January 17th, 1145, okay? And there are coordinates here. It's not an address. This is the way war documents are signed, military documents, is actual coordinates. So there's Colonel Lilikoi, his autograph, and there's Commander Beaumont. So this is important. I don't believe this has ever been done for 128 years, where a Hawaii officer and a United States of America officer, yes, from the U.S. Navy, have actually come together and signed the declaration of a state of war. This confirms that we are under martial law. We are unarmed, but we needed a point of contact between Hawaii's military and the military of the occupying power, in this case the Navy, and Commander Beaumont signed that. So more confirmation, more clarity. Now what that means is the United States, in the law of occupation, because it is martial law, the United States has a very exact protocol how to do an occupation and be pono in international law. So I got to bring a copy of the United States Field Manual. There is a process and a protocol called the Law of Occupation, and the United States, through its treaties, through the Hague and Geneva Convention, have what they call the Law of Land Warfare. This is what happens when you're in occupation. It's a field manual. Okay, this is just a cover copy. This is from July 1956. So this is part of clarification of how occupying powers, through their military, are supposed to conduct themselves. So here we go. Although military government is an accepted concept in the law of the United States, the limits placed upon its exercise are prescribed by the international law of belligerent occupation. In the United States, martial law is the temporary government of the civil population of domestic territory through the military forces. So that's why we had to activate our military. It's all unarmed. We have to address the fact that we need a peace treaty. It says, so far as the United States forces are concerned, okay, because they're obligated to this field manual of occupation, military government and martial law are exercised by the military commander under the direction of the president as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And so this whole global matrix of maritime and corporate law, mafia tyranny, that's all being exposed. A lot of people know this. The media is part of the problem because what they do is they spin everything they want, they censor everything that they want, and so we're all in grave danger. So I'm actually grateful that this temporary, 128 years temporary, but it is temporary because now we're awakened to the true relationship that we have between the occupying power, the United States of America. Actually, that's the corporation. So I'm praying for the Americans, the sovereign Americans, and they are reconstructing and reestablishing the people's de jure government, not the corporation. Specifically, the unincorporated constitutional republic. Ko Hawaii Pai Aina. Hawaii is not a corporation. We never were a corporation. We operate under the Creator's law. We are subject not to a man, not to a wahine. We are subject to the law of the Most High. It's called natural law. Be truthful, do no harm, honor your word, your contract, your treaties. What is the truth? Was any harm done? For 128 years. And what is the status of agreements, of treaties? So be honorable. That the purpose of good government is to protect unalienable rights. Okay, that's the main thing. And specifically, your right to full disclosure and substantive due process. We are under martial law. We have served notice on all islands, judges, mayors. People are getting served notification of true status. The last thing I'm going to leave you with today is people have to take individual action to be confirmed by others. If you're really Hawaiian, that means renounce, expatriate from the United States Corporation, and you have to repatriate or naturalize into Hawaii Pai, into Hawaii. I have, along with many others, we have created our own, I mean other people have done this too, our own pledge unto Ko Hawaii Pai, our own pledge. This is ours. And what is this really? This basically, you're pledging unto the Creator's law as codified in the Declaration of Rights 1839. As I said earlier, Colonel Lilikoi and everybody in Occupied Forces Hawaii knows that what is never surrendered, what is never suspended is your God-given unalienable rights. So this has already been done. What I needed to do and what I did is I had to enter this, my claim, into the database of Occupied Forces Hawaii. It's just another level of confirmation. I do not lose any of my, God-given rights. Okay, that does not render this, what we did, null and void. It's just entering this covenant, this pledge, into another database so we take action. I respect the fact that Colonel Lilikoi really needed to see that I and others very serious about saying we're Hawaiian, we're repatriating, naturalizing into our kingdom, and we're expatriating our relationships. And there's all kinds of different contracts and benefits and relationships. And I know people are concerned about that. And get this, it's already 128 years of military occupation. A lot of harm has already happened. There's no more harm that needs to happen. So what does that mean? That means your benefits from Social Security, yes, your right to travel, and all of these things that have been operating actually under the color of law, they will continue. They must continue. We don't want to add more harm, okay, as we transition to Pono. The Treaty of Peace and Post-Liminium. Post-Liminium means all the laws and all the title returns back. Post-Liminium returns back to just before they kidnapped our queen. So there is a process. It's a very simple one that Colonel Lilikoi typed up analog on his it's not even a computer, on his typewriter. Okay, Occupied Forces Hawaii, military, government, civil affairs, expatriation, repatriation. His old typewriter, the ribbon was kind of like old already, but he did it like this initially, and we're going to have a digitized copy. But you put your name, first, middle, and last name. Your name in Hawaii, okay? Your birth date, you're expatriating from the United States of America, the state of Hawaii, and the District of Columbia, basically separating yourself from the occupying corporation. And it's a process. Documents and contracts that are ongoing, like the U.S. Social Security number, U.S. passport, state ID, driver's license, veterans benefits, Native Hawaiian beneficiary, Native Hawaiian. It's defined by the occupying corporation as opposed to Kanaka, true original people. Native Hawaiian beneficiary, there's a contract there involved there. Okay, employed by U.S. business, banking, member of U.S. Registered union or association. Okay, so these are some of the ways that we find ourselves connected to the occupying corporation. All of your benefits will continue. These are contracts. What else have we got here? U.S. military service. Were you in any of these branches? Okay. And if you want to volunteer for Hawaii military service, if you want to volunteer in this Occupied Forces Hawaii. Okay. The person named herein does wish to expatriate from the U.S. and repatriate and naturalize, to Hawaii, and does herein declare that the information provided is true and correct. You put the date, you autograph it, it's good to go. Now you're entered into Occupied Forces Hawaii database, and we can with confidence help protect your rights as a Hawaiian in this transitionary period, a time of temporary martial law. And we can do that with full confidence and clarification, okay? So we're moving in a time, temporary time of martial law to restore what is pono, moving specifically to a treaty of peace post-dominion. This is a special notice because HKGA, Hawaiian Kingdom Governance Authority, is changing its name. We thought it was important to change it to Natural Law Hawaii because that's the law we're standing on. That's the only law on earth, in Hawaii, in America, all over God's creation. So natural law in Hawaii, that's what we do. We teach it. We help people in clarifying who they are, where they are, what is the law, for the purpose of protecting your unalienable God-given rights. So that continues. Natural Law Hawaii. Use the same phone number, 808-785-0402. We're here to help you. God bless and ahui ho. World peace starts here.